We have peace in the Middle East. Nobody thought that was possible.
Well, that didn't last long. If you haven't been sentient for the past 24 to 48 hours or so, the US and Israel began a joint military operation bombing Iran, and Iran has since retaliated after Trump said repeatedly for the past 2 years that he would not get the US involved in any new wars or start any new wars, and yet here we are. And so now there have been multiple reports of explosions in Israel, Iran, Dubai, Kuwait, Bahrain, and more, with plumes of smoke being seen at the Burj Khalifa, U.S. military sites, and even a U.S. bombing of a girls' school in Iran. There are also reports coming out now that the Ayatollah, the supreme leader of Iran, is dead after an attack. And all of this after Trump promised the American people for years that he was the peace candidate and that he was not going to get into any more wars. So you and I are going to take a trip down memory lane just to see how much Trump has lied to the American people. And we are going to go all the way back to 2011 during Obama's re-election campaign when Trump tweeted, "In order to get elected, at Barack Obama will start a war with Iran." So, 15 years later, here we are, and you are now starting a war with Iran, Trump. Just pure scum, honestly, pure scum. Continuing the tweet chain, though, because there is always a tweet when it comes to Trump, he said in 2012, now that Obama's poll numbers are in a tailspin, watch for him to launch a strike on Libya or Iran. He is desperate. I took the liberty of checking Obama's approval on October 8th, 2012, a day before Trump tweeted this, and he was sitting at around 50%. Today, in 2026, Trump is barely cracking 40%, with some polls saying he's in the high 30s. So if Obama's numbers were in a tailspin at 50%, then what are your numbers, Trump? They are a cataclysmic explosion. They are a fire. They are completely cratering. And now that your poll numbers are so low, now you decide you want to attack Iran. I mean, at least you're morally consistent, and there is always a tweet. Or there's always the possibility that this is a potential cover-up for the Epstein files and your associations with Jeffrey Epstein, but we'll have to wait and see on that, I suppose. Trump also posted this video around the time of Obama's re-election in 2012, which rings surprisingly true for himself today.
Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective. So the only way he figures that he's going to get reelected, and as sure as you're sitting there, is to start a war with Iran.
Ain't that just interesting? Fascinating stuff. Fascinating stuff. And in 2013, Trump also posted this, saying, "Remember that I predicted a long time ago that President Obama will attack Iran because of his inability to negotiate properly. Not skilled." But what makes this extra fascinating is that Trump wants Iran to never have nukes, right? That was kind of the impetus behind this whole song and dance, behind everything, behind the attacks last year. And Trump talks about diplomacy here in this tweet, and he doesn't want Iran to be a superpower with nukes, and that Israel will remain the only power in the region with a nuclear arsenal. That's kind of everything behind this. But when Trump was in office the first time, he shredded the diplomatic deal that was signed by President Barack Obama in 2015. He shredded the Iran nuclear deal. And this is Trump back in 2018 talking about getting rid of it.
I am announcing today that the United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal.
The Iran deal was a diplomatic means to limit Iran's nuclear capabilities, and yet Trump just shredded it for more control and power because he does not give a damn. Right? He doesn't care. He talks about wanting diplomacy, and yet here he is bombing another country. We're going to jump forward a little bit to 2023 when J.D. Vance said this about a U.S. invasion in Iraq, saying, 20 years ago, we invaded Iraq. The war killed many innocent Iraqis and Americans. It destroyed the oldest Christian populations in the world. It cost over $1 trillion and turned Iraq into a satellite of Iran. Oh, there it is again. It was an unforced disaster, and I pray that we learn its lessons. Well, clearly you didn't learn shit because you and your administration are now bombing schools in Iran, J.D. Vance. And also back in 2023, J.D. Vance penned this beautiful op-ed that reads, "Trump's best foreign policy, not starting any wars." That's the Trump way. Well, here we are in 2026, and he is starting a war by bombing Iran. So this piece aged like a fine milk. Not to mention the dozens and dozens of times in 2024 when Trump said he would not get involved in any new wars and that he was going to be the peace candidate, right? Well, that was clearly BS. Let's just take a look at some of those moments to refresh our memory and pay attention to what he's saying here on the campaign trail, because he is pretty damn crystal clear.
I'm proud to be the only president in decades who did not start a new war. Everyone said, oh, he's going to start a new war. I was the first president in modern times to start no new wars. I will tell you, you're not going to have a war with me, and you're not going to have a third world war with me. That I can tell you. They said, he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars.
No new wars. I'm pro-peace. I'm the peace candidate. I will stop wars. I'm Donald Trump. I will stop wars. Bullshit, right? Trump claims that he has stopped 8 wars and deserves the Nobel Prize, and that he's so peaceful. He's this peaceful dove. But in reality, Trump was and always will be a warmongering piece of shit with no respect or empathy for anyone other than himself. He claims he wants diplomacy, and yet here he is bombing another country without congressional approval, with low approvals in general, and he lied. He lied to the American people. But will his base hold him accountable? Will this reflect poorly on his poll numbers? God, I hope so. And it looks like it will. This whole action has very limited support. But going back to 2024, Trump wasn't the only one saying he was the peace guy. Here's little Marco with his empty promises.
And you know what Donald Trump is saying? When he's president, that ends. Our enemies will know we're strong, and that will bring about peace and avoid war.
What peace is there in bombing other countries? Right? What peace will that bring? Again, we had a diplomatic solution. We had the Iran nuclear deal. It was signed. It was working. It was, quite frankly, a stellar deal for the United States and limited Iran's nuclear capabilities. And yet, Trump shredded it. And now here we are. This is what the GOP was tweeting back in 2024, the pro-peace ticket. And Stephen Miller was saying, to anyone still gullible enough to fall for scummy media hoaxes, Trump said warmongering neocons love sending your kids to die for wars they would never fight themselves. Liz Cheney is Kamala's top advisor. Liz wants to invade the whole Middle East. Kamala equals World War III. Trump equals peace. Okay. Stephen Miller, would you like to rescind those remarks? Or this one where you said, if young men don't want to be drafted to fight in Kamala's and Cheney's Third World War, they better get out and vote for Trump? I don't know, man. I don't know. You're wrong. And just a month ago, one solitary month ago, Trump had this to say about himself.
We have peace in the Middle East. Nobody thought that was possible.
Peace in the Middle East. Peace in the Middle East. Yeah, great. That lasted all of 2 weeks. I don't have a watch on. That was for the bit. George W. Bush's approval back in 2008 was anywhere from 22% to 33%, right? That was after a pointless war in the Middle East. Trump's poll numbers are already scraping the high 30s, and what is going to happen now that he is beginning a pointless war in the Middle East? And potentially American service members are going to die, right? Operation Epic Fury, as they're calling it, by the way, which is insane. Like, we're literally run by Reddit mods. This will crater Trump even further, right? And not even MAGA is happy about this. Marjorie Taylor Greene said we voted for America first and zero wars. Tucker Carlson says this is absolutely disgusting and evil. Alex Jones, Trump's huge gamble accelerates the world's trajectory towards a nuclear world war. And Andrew Tate, why would going to war with Iran benefit anybody in America at all? So why do this? The U.S. and Israel just started an armed conflict with a nation when the approval for such a thing was barely cracking 20% amongst Americans. Here's a polling done from the University of Maryland that just was released 11 hours ago at the time of recording this video, and not even a majority of Republicans approve of an attack. So, Trump lied, and people died. And more people will die. Iran is now destabilized, the US and Israel are further pushing themselves away from the international stage, and diplomacy rots in the basement as bombs explode on the rooftops. And that will just continue as Trump is trying to speed run his way into being the worst president in American history. And he is hitting all the classics. He's got corruption. He's got pointless war. He's got tax breaks, cover-ups, scandals, all of it, right? Trump is like hitting the quadruple decker of being a shitty president. Impeachments need to be made. Congress needs to act, and the Republican Party must be voted out come November. But to be perfectly honest, Trump is making it pretty damn easy for Americans to come to that decision, especially right now. So, I think that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for sticking around until the end. I really appreciate it. If you like what you saw in this video, be sure to leave a like down below. Comment your thoughts. I would love to hear all about them, especially in this crazy, unknown time we're in right now. So do us a favor and do that, and subscribe to the channel. It's a great and easy way to show your support, and hey, it's free. So do us a favor, do all that good stuff, and yeah, that's it. I'm Iago Lashua. Have a good day. Goodbye.